Hi, very good morning to you. It's Jim from maverickstar Observatory. Just digging a bit deeper into the power consumption of the United Kingdom, because then we can scale it to other countries. So you could do this yourselves. I was just trying to work out something, because I'll get to the point a bit later on. You'll see why we ended up at this point here. Okay, so you can see here the number of dwellings in England increased steadily during the period, reaching to a total of 24.7 million. I just rounded it up to 2.5 million for argument's sake. Right, so the average home in the UK consumes around 7 to 10 kilowatts in a 24-hour period. I worked it out off my last electricity bill. I use around about 7 kilowatts. Most of this energy is being consumed by 2 refrigerators, because each one of those will consume about 3 kilowatts. Well, both of them will consume around about 3 of those kilowatts out of the 7 I use for other things. So we're not even going to talk about Teslas at the moment, because if you own a Tesla, you are consuming, when you charge it up from empty, over 140 kilowatts. Yeah, so you can just imagine how much these people are consuming electricity in the week, and that's why they're charging the cars up at off-peak when the electric's at half price. So what we want to know is, because the power station sells their electric by the megawatt, but they actually show you the demand over a 24-hour period is 1 gigawatt. So I wanted to work out how many homes on an average using 10 kilowatts in a 24-hour period would consume. So I could find out how many of the homes in the UK consume in gigawatts. And so the equation for this is, if we look at how many kilowatts are in a gigawatt, we can see that you just times that factor by 1,000,000. And then the equation for watts is 1 times 1,000 times 1,000,000, and you get 1 gigawatt. So I worked it out. We would on average consume 250 million kilowatts, and then you divide that by the houses, 25 million houses would consume 250 million kilowatts, and then to find out what that is in gigawatts, you have to divide it by 1,000 and then divide that figure by 1,000, and you get the answer 0.25 gigawatts. Let me show you how much the national grid in the UK is producing in electric, because this will shock you. So as you can see here, the demand is 22.9 gigawatts. Now I just worked it out for you guys how much all the homes in the UK consume. Remember, I said there was 25 million homes, each consume 10 kilowatts in a 24-hour period. So 25 million times 10 gives us 250 million. We convert that into kilowatts, so that's 250 million kilowatts. And if we want to find out what that is in gigawatts, we divide it by 1,000,000 and then divide it by 1,000, and we get 0.25 gigawatts. You can see what the demand is here. It's 22.9 gigawatts. So what this shows us is that our consumption is 0.25 gigawatts. That's all the houses in the UK. What the hell are they doing with the rest of the electric that they generate? And even more concerning about this is that we are paying for that extra consumption to go other places. So you've got industry, you've got your street lights, you've got infrastructure, but the government taxes us for those things already, but they don't show it on their books. So we are paying for everybody else's consumption, even though we don't even consume 0.25 gigawatts. So a quarter of a gigawatt is what all the homes consume, but we're being billed for 22.9 gigawatts. So somebody somewhere is ripping the clean hell out of our pockets with this. This is one of the things that needs to be cleared up. We cannot continue letting this happen. What I've just worked out is that we only use a quarter of a gigawatt, and that yet they bill us for 22.9 gigawatts as of 7 o'clock AM this morning. The reason why I was looking into this is because if you look at that bar next to the time at the top nearly, it's saying that the price per megawatt hour is £107. Sometimes that goes down to £4. And I thought, you know what I'd love to do? Buy it at £4, just wait, a few hours and then sell it at £107 because that's how much it fluctuates over time. I could make millions doing that if I was able to, but the only way I'd be able to do that is store it in batteries. So I worked out how many homes consume in a 24-hour period 1 megawatt hour, because that's what they're selling it at, and it works out 1 megawatt hour would run 2,000 homes in a 24-hour period. And then I thought, well, okay, how much would it cost me then to buy the battery bank so that I could make money on this? Well, I think it worked out around about £6 million for the battery bank, and then there's a lifespan, and then you're only making out of that, for that £6 million, you'll only be making something like £95 profit in a given 6-hour period of time. And a lot of maths went into working all this out. So the only other way to do it is like down there, as you can see listed in the other energy, is by pump storage, so that when the electric's cheap at £4 per megawatt, you used your pumps to pump the water up to a high location, and then once your reservoir's full, you just wait for the price to increase up to £107 a megawatt hour, and you let it come back down the pipes and run it through the generators, and so you sell it back to the company at a profit. So the problem is because batteries are so expensive, nobody is ever going to invest in big big storage capacities of batteries so they can store the electric, so that they can resell it at a later date, because there's no money in doing that. There is obviously in pump storage, but it's a waste of energy. But the big point here is that we're cleanly being ripped off left, right and centre. And I want to say something else. There is a looming crisis coming. Everybody knows it in the financial world. We've got a collapsing debt market, a collapsing currency market, and we've got banks selling bonds, which is just selling the debt, and with the promise that they'll pay profit later on, perhaps in 5 years, depending on what bonds they are, the government bonds. Now, here in the UK, the government had to rapidly have the Bank of England step in, which is nothing more than flooding the market with cash, because the pensions was going to collapse in this country, and it's happened now twice in a month. So all around the world, everybody's in the same situation. There is only a matter of time before this collapse, this world global, it's going to be not a recession, it's going to be a depression. We're looking at something that happened the last time in 1929 in this country. But what all these financial investors are saying is, what they're going to do is they're going to cause a catastrophe, and that is going to be the way that they can say, you ain't getting your money back out of the bank. So what a lot of these investors are saying is, take your money out of the bank, but try and find something to put it in. Because let's face it, you're not getting no interest on your money in the bank. And yet the banks are using your money to borrow it other people so that they can make it. So you're doing yourself no favours by having money in the banks. But what do you put it into? Well, they're saying invest it into physical assets. So that could be anything that you might think of that today is worth £1,000, but tomorrow it might be worth £1,500. That could be a classic car. It could be property. But if I was going to invest in property right now, I don't have Bob Squash in my pockets to not even buy a car with. So, but if I had the money, I'd probably buy a few classic cars, because they're always going up in value. The depreciation has stopped at some point years ago for those, and they're only going up in value because of the rarity. So classic cars would be a good investment. You know, it'd be better than the bank. Or low price properties, because there's always going to be someone to rent one of those or be able to buy one of those off you. So that could be another way. But what we're facing, and it's clear from what all these financial brokers are looking at, is an imminent collapse. You know, they're saying that this cannot, even if they can't, the problem is they can't keep printing money, and I think they've already reached that point, because the bank told the UK, the British government, no chance, you've got to look at your books and see where you can cut money and cut savings. Yet at the same time, the government need to increase their spending, because they're trying to save people losing everything right now in the UK because the cost of living is so high. So we are facing an imminent danger of something really big happening, maybe this month, maybe the month after, but it's coming, and everybody in the financial world are completely aware of it. We'll talk about Joe Biden's prediction of Armageddon, with his warnings to Putin over the use of nuclear weapons. Put that aside, because it's Armageddon anyhow. What people don't understand right now is the global market is in free fall, and has been for a long time. Look what just happened here in the UK in the last month. Liz Truss, the new Prime Minister, went to the bank and said, we need money. They says okay at first. When the currency markets found out that UK was going to be doing a print up, what happened? It almost collapsed against the dollar. The pound went down to $1.06 for £1. The last time this happened was nearly 100 years ago. And if you look back at that point in time, during 1929, the Great Depression was there. The currency markets are finished. If America tries to do it, the same thing will happen. What we've reached is the end of the line. Only thing is, they've not told the general public yet that that is the case. You know, because of the energy, when the energy went up to so much, that was it. That's when your global markets failed at that point. You know, it's tripled in a year, the energy costs. And what's happening is industry is realising it. That's why all your steel manufacturers are shutting their shop. Because to produce steel, you need a lot of energy. And if it costs twice as much as that, can you imagine if you do still produce steel, how much you've got to sell that steel at that cost? Who's going to buy it? What people are doing is shutting shop all around the world. And it will be a knock-on effect in every industry. This is what people have been talking about for years was going to happen. Now it's here, happening. This is what I was warning people 5 years ago about Armageddon for lots of reasons. I said we was on a gauntlet and we were facing lots of obstacles. It was just a matter of time before, because of the speed that we were running through that gauntlet, if we hit one, we'd bounce off that one and it's another obstacle. And that is exactly what's happening now. This is cascading out of control. You don't realise what's coming, guys. You know, to use Joe Biden's quote, Armageddon, well, it's going to look like that for a lot of people. People are going to lose their jobs. And they already are starting to, because when these places shut shop, you know, some of them are large employers. You know, when they shut shop, that means they've got to try and find work somewhere else. You just imagine what's going to happen in the coming months. The labour market is going to be overflowing, and that means cost of living and wages are going to go down, because if you can choose out of 1,000 people to do that job, you can choose the one that's working for the lowest bid. And that's what we're going to see. We're going to see people losing their houses, people losing their jobs. Pensions are going to be unsecured by governments, so you could lose your pension. That's why people are saying in the financial markets, get your money out the bank. We live in a crappy world, and it ain't getting no better, and it never gets any cheaper. If you notice, when they put the prices up, they stay up. But what is coming is Armageddon. believe me, if it's not the climate that's going to finish us off right now, it's all these systems that we've got. Now, there is talk that, this system's done. There needs to be something to replace it. That might have been on their cards. This could have been a controlled collapse. I don't think they're that smart myself to do a controlled collapse and bring in a new system. But there's talk about everything going digital. And then when that happens, they will know every source of income you've got. They will know where that money come from and what it was for. We are entering, we are already in a slave system in any case. It's just going to become more apparent to a lot more people. This is the darkest hour, I think, that we've been in for a long time, and we haven't seen the true implications of all this unfolding. But it's taking place. They're keeping their mouth shut, because if they tell people what will happen, it will accelerate what is going to happen in any case. They've got it on a drip at the moment, but they're losing control. When the Bank of England turns around to the government and says you ain't borrowing no more money after what we've just witnessed, you know what it cost the government? Her announcement of asking the Bank of England for money. It nearly collapsed the British pound on the global markets. And then they said, no, you can't. You're going to have a look at your books again and see what you can cut. It's over. They've reached a point where they cannot go any further forward, and the only place or the only direction for them to go now is backwards. So, all these people that have been talking about the financial collapse and the kicking of the can down the road, and eventually you're not going to be able to kick it any further, we're there right now. Hyperinflation, high interest rates, all going out of control. It's a complete and utter mess, the whole system. You know what, I'll tell you what will be interesting to watch over the coming months. Just what exactly happens in a country like Germany. One of the biggest powerhouses in Europe is facing some real dark hours. Watch what happens in Germany. It'll be a guide for what happens around the world. But I guarantee you now, it's coming to all of us. This what is happening right now is coming to all of us. I want to ask any of the British subjects at the moment that are watching and listening to this, whether this concerns you and whether you worry about this. This guy's the third Chancellor that we've had in 2 months, and there, sitting right next to him, Liz Truss, is the second Prime Minister we've had this year. The problem is with the Chancellor, he's in charge for those in other countries that don't know what the Chancellor's job is. His job is to manage the British economy. And we've had 3 different Chancellors in just 2 months. What this should tell you is that nobody can fix this problem, what we're facing. And nobody has a solution. But this doesn't relate just to the United Kingdom. This is a global problem. Just have a look at your social media websites about what is actually going on around the world. Global energy prices soaring. That was, the straw that broke the camel's back. What we're in now is collision mode. He's just announced that all the policies that was introduced into a couple of weeks ago's budget has been scrapped. That last Chancellor that was in charge of that budget has been fired. And Liz Truss nearly collapsed the pensions fund for the entire country. She's caused, or even made worse, the currency market. The pound nearly collapsed a few weeks ago against the dollar, reaching record all-time lows. We're in a lot of trouble. All I can say for you guys out there is do whatever you can, because this ship is going down, and I just hope you have a life jacket. That could be in the form of a bug out bag or a bit of food storage, because If the currency collapses in the next few weeks or months, it won't make no difference if you've got £10,000. You try and buy a loaf of bread with it. I just hope that the weight of this video that I've done here does bear down on your conscience, and that you know that serious times are definitely coming, one way or another. The gauntlet has erupted, and it is going to throw problems everywhere. We have not seen the panics that are going to be taking place soon, but I tell you now, I don't think the government can maintain its continuity with the way things are right now. I think the unrest in this country is going to be something unprecedented, just like everything else across the range. We are going to see people die this Christmas in this country, and we are going to see people die all around the world as a result of just the energy going up. Just that alone. It will force people to freeze to death in their houses this winter, and it will force people to starve. You know, we're supposed to be one of the richest countries in the world, and we have poverty that reflects some of the world's poorest countries in the world. This is shocking and unprecedented times that we're all facing. You know, the train is almost upon us, and we have not left the track yet. I suggest that you work in small communities with each other, help each other out, and you'll get through it. You will get through it. Something has got to, you know, there can't be rain every day. You know, there can't be thunderstorms every day, and you can't have bad luck every day. Something is going to change. You just need to get through what is coming. The only way you're going to do that is by sticking together, working it out together, and getting through your problems and sharing, you know, solutions. We're in a big mess in this country, and we're in a big mess in the world right now. Guys, if you got something out of the video, there's a link down there. I certainly hope you have. Would be great to see a few more people chip up on the line and you know, help support us. We're trying to help people, you know, through these times and come up with not just the problems, but, you know, some solutions to them. Hopefully you've got a few ideas out of this video, and there's a link down there if you want to help support us. I'll say what I usually do. You know, you take care of your loved ones. God be with you all, as always. Bye for now.